Hey, we're live on Facebook. There we go. It notified us. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
So-
Sorry, guys, we lost our stream, so I'm gonna hand it back to Caleb, and hopefully we'll keep everybody on. But I'll just keep commenting in the comment boxes, so you'll know we're back up.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so love that story. So you literally just had a kid handed to you, and then you felt called. You were like, "This is what we do. We take care of kids." So how did that progress into becoming foster parents? I mean, it seems like you said that was pre 9/11. We're talking 2017 when you became foster parents. What happened in the middle there?
You know, we've gone through a lot of different experiences, throughout our lives, and we were fortunate enough to be able to share those experiences with children. You know, we understand, parents, point of views of, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. You know, show me a perfect parent, I will show you one that just hasn't been caught. But it's what you do after you get caught. And we've had some amazing kids. We really have. And these children are going to be our future. I love watching them when they realize, that they can achieve their goals.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, so you got your license in 2017. You became, I'm sure that the same day that you got your license, I called you and they said, "Hey, do you want a kid to come to your house?" Because that's how we do. What was that first placement like? How did that go?
I'll let you take Tyler.
Tyler was awesome. He came in, he introduced himself very polite and said, "Hi, my name's Tyler." And he went back to the back room and sat on his bed all night.
Everything was brand new. I mean,
Yeah.
all of our beds, our entire rooms, everything was brand
He
new.
was ready to go for a lot of kids. So he was our first one. The next day they found out that they found a placement in his school district. So they came and picked him up and sent him on his way. After that,
It became siblings.
it became siblings. Yeah.
Siblings and teenagers.
Yeah.
That's generally kind of what we say we kind of specialize in, because those are the hardest to place. We have two adult children, but when they were younger, I could never imagine if something were to happen, them being separated. To this day, they are best friends. And they're going through so much already. That's not something they should have to worry about. So we do a lot of siblings. We do a lot of respite and a lot of overnights, just to help keep siblings together. Teenagers, we've taken in quite a few teenagers. Just like with anybody, you've got your good and you've got your, not quite the best, your more challenging ones, but it just, you have to keep your standards in your home. You really do. Whatever it was that how you raised your children is how you raise these.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to reiterate for anybody that's listening that may not understand that, we always need more homes that are willing to take sibling groups, because it's very rare that we get just one kid that comes into care. It's usually a sibling group and that number keeps growing. And teenagers. I feel like a lot of people are scared of teenagers, and I understand, but at the same time, we need people that are willing to be persistent like that and do what you guys do. So thank you so much. So my next question is kind of near and dear to my heart because of the way my parents raised me. But how did your bio children respond to these new kids coming into their home?
Well, our bio children are grown. Our son lives in Texas, and he was a little questionable on it, because he was thinking, unfortunately, what other people think, that if they're in the foster system, something must be wrong. So we had to do some explaining to him, that children are not in the foster system by anything that they did, at all. This is not juvenile. They did nothing. They're just trying to survive. And our daughter, she actually became our live-in nanny for 2 years, and it was absolutely amazing. And then she decided that she did not want to be a mom. Very understandable. She's now 24, but she is an EMT for Sumter County, and she's getting ready to go back to school for nursing.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And you mentioned earlier
Sends all of our kids out back.
that she's just like stepped into the role and really embraced what you guys do. And I think that's really incredible. And I think it's a point that a lot of times is overlooked when we talk about being a foster family, because it really does take like everybody jumping in. Because if you're not okay with sharing your sink or your shower or your bedroom or any of those things, it can get really uncomfortable. And so when you have to jump into that, it's amazing. Love to hear that. Okay, so let's jump into the COVID-19 chapter, because that's where I think this is just a really great story all around. But I'll just let you guys go for it. How did this start? What happened? What set it off? All of those things.
Well, trying to think. It actually started March 20th because our 17-year-old worked in a nursing home, but part of her schooling was doing her clinicals at a hospital. And the very first patient in Citrus County to test positive just happened to be at that hospital that she was at.
Oh.
So her work made her get tested, and we took her in and got her tested. But what they don't tell you is while you're waiting for the results, your whole entire house is under quarantine. You cannot leave. So that was 9 days before we got her results back, and it was negative. And following right after that was I started out getting mild fevers. I thought it was just a sinus infection.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pressure behind my eyes. I didn't feel like I had, some kind of a major sickness, or anything like that. My husband had the same thing, pressure behind his eyes, low grade fevers, and he picked up a little bit of the cough.
We went and we had our test done, and unfortunately we came back positive for COVID-19. Therefore, right then, we also had our kids tested. 4 of our kids tested positive, 4 tested negative. And from there,
everything had to be separated. We had 4 kids at one table eating. We had 4 kids at another, trying to do whatever separation we could because we were all immediately under quarantine again. All of our kids were asymptomatic. Hallelujah. My husband had the minor, more minor symptoms to it. I got hit with the COVID train. I got hit with, I hit 106.1 fever. The hospital told my husband not to bring me in. He had to put me immediately in ice bath. He was up all night, every hour, replacing ice packs under my arms, my legs, everything, just to keep my temperature down to 102. I started hallucinating. I saw my mother. But the next day when I woke up, I had no fever, and I thought that was it. I was good. I made it through that. And it wasn't until the next day when I realized that I couldn't breathe. And then my husband had to take me to the emergency room because I was no longer running a fever. They would take me.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, he couldn't go in. He literally had to drop me off outside the emergency room, not knowing anything of what was going to happen, and he had to leave. That was the hardest thing. I could not imagine that drive home for him. I really couldn't. Luckily, we did have our phones, so we could, FaceTime, and which we did multiple times a day. I got to talk to the kids. The kids got to see me, because they were hearing everything on the news. They were hearing how people were being intubated and how people were dying, and I was no longer at home. So, I spent 9 days, in the hospital, and that is the longest that me and my husband has ever been apart. And when I came home, not only the first thing that happened was I got my phone back, but, all 8 kids, were happy. They were all, fully, caught up on their schoolwork. All the laundry was done. Our community stepped up amazing. I would like to give a shout out to Deb Grudinsky and Denise Burke, because they brought meals Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over to my family while I was in the hospital, so that it was one less thing my husband had to work on.
That's amazing.
And then when I got home, the week that I got home, they continued to do that so that I had a full week of being able to get ready, to heal, because it was very difficult, breathing wise, and stuff when I got home. Our elementary school here really stepped up as well on the days that the caseworkers, didn't make something. They brought over full meals, and they would bring over every single day for 3 weeks. They brought over lunches for the kids.
It's incredible.
Make sure that every child, had a lunch, and it was something that my husband wasn't having to take time away from, to take care of.
And were those people from your church community or from your foster parent community?
Deb and Denise would be what would be considered our foster parent community, because they were previous caseworkers. We hadn't had them in years, but they were previous caseworkers. And the others that stepped up was our 3rd grade class, our 5th grade class, and our pre-K class to the school that all of our kids go to.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. Man,
Now,
that is-
Destiny, you told a funny story about your phone when we were talking earlier that I think you got to share with everybody.
Okay. The reason why he was so happy to give me my phone back is because everything is set up through my phone. All sibling visits, all caseworkers call my phone to do their virtual visits with the kids. All the GALs call my phone, and all the appointments are set up through my phone. So he had my phone just to make sure that the children didn't miss a visit with their family. To make sure that if there were any telemed visits, if kids had to get medications, or, if my relicensing specialist needed to do her quarterly, he had everything set up through my phone. So he got a taste of what I deal with daily, even though I may not work an outside job, he understands, that, what I do is, very important. And,
Very important. Yeah.
He was just very happy to give me my phone back.
The 9 days was
Michael,
very.
would you
I
trade?
know exactly how busy she is every day of the week.
Would you trade if she had the option? Would you trade? Would you take on that?
I would.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I don't think many guys would say that. That's incredible.
And I'll be honest with you, from what I've heard, not a lot of dads, especially foster dads, are quite as involved,
Mhm.
And, he did outstanding. I didn't have to worry anyways, because, he's always been very involved, but I was just more worried about how he was going to, to survive this, and calm, cool, collected. Everybody, there was no screaming, no yelling. Kids weren't fighting. Everybody had baths. It was great. It was like, it was like, he'd been forever.
That's incredible.
One of the things that I wanted to say is I just wanted to commend Mr. Hardaway, because initially when we received the call that night, Shalonda and I had a conference call with our team, and we decided to take some PPE, personal protection equipment, over to your home. And I actually was on the phone with Mr. Hardaway, and he was talking about the visits that he needed to schedule, making sure that, nothing was interrupted. And I just really want to commend you, because most people would have really been, a nervous wreck during that time. But I think you kept a steady head throughout this whole thing. And I know it was a tough ordeal. And as you said, being separated for 9 days, I'm sure it was grueling. And I know you missed a couple of, you missed a birthday and
Yes.
Easter. So yes, most definitely. We commend you for that.
Well, thank you so much. But it was just, I had to. There was no choice. There was no choice of not doing it.
Right.
So,
Well, I just want to say too, that I think it was important when you agreed, you and your wife, going through that troublesome time, that you kept the children together. And, I think that was one of the biggest highlights. Your wife was in the hospital for all those days, and, with so much uncertainty there, but you still said it was important for you to maintain stability for the kids. So we really do appreciate that.
That was one of our biggest fears, was that they would remove the children,
Mhm.
because it wasn't both of us here. And, our youngest ones, they would never understand that. They wouldn't understand. We're the only parents they have known for 3 years. you know, so they wouldn't understand, you know, being taken away. And that was one of our biggest fears, was that, you know, something could happen and our children would be taken away while I was sick.
Yeah. No, we know how important it is for kids to have stability so they won't be subjected to further trauma without having to go through something like that. So we do appreciate you.
Well,
Well,
thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
We do notice that definitely with you, Mr. and Mrs. Hardaway, that you take our siblings, which of course, that's something that Shalonda and I hold near and dear to our heart, and we never want to separate siblings. So it's very important to, work with foster parents that understand the sibling bond and wanting to keep the kids together. So even through this time, and I know that it was very difficult, and with everybody's schedule, I think initially going through when COVID started, trying to make sure that everyone had their Skype visits was an ordeal, but you guys handled it quite well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I can't not say taking older kids. We appreciate that too.
Oh, thank
You're
you. Thank you.
welcome.
You know, it's we have one right now. She's 17 and she is fabulous. She really is. You know, she helps, helps around the house. You know, she is doing very well in school. She works. You know, she was went and got her own vehicle and through a car lot place. And now, you know, that since she's paid on time for 6 months, they moved it to a bank financing. So she is actually getting auto credit at the age of 17.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
So she will actually start out, you know, with absolute excellent credit. And since she couldn't work during COVID, you know, her job, you know, we were being quarantined and stuff like that. She stepped up a lot around the house, you know, helping out with laundry, helping out with, with meals, getting, you know, the kids, you know, plates, you know, and stuff like that. And so we made sure that her vehicle payment was made, you know, for the month of May, you know, so that she didn't have to, it wasn't something she'd have to worry about with not being able to work.
It's amazing. Okay, so if I can, we'll just ride that right into the next questions, because those were kind of heavy, but I do really want to highlight some of the fun craziness of being in a household this big. So I'm just going to happy to ask you some rapid fire, silly questions that I'm sure you know the answer to already. Things like, how many chairs and how big is your dinner table?
Well, we had a custom 12-foot table made, you know, because we wanted a place that we could sit down and eat together, especially during Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So it has 4 5-foot benches on 2 on each side, and then it has 2 captain's benches at the end of each table.
Dang, okay. And so what about transportation? How do you guys get everyone everywhere? Is it multiple cars all the time? Do you
It used to be. It used to be multiple cars,
Yes.
but my husband came up with a really good idea and found a 15-person passenger van.
Yes, okay.
So we have a 15-person passenger van, and that is what we use for grocery shopping. That is what we use when we go on vacations, like to Daytona and stuff like that, because it'll hold everything and it holds all the kids and the car seats.
And how many times do you have to go grocery shopping every week?
2 to 3 times a week.
Yes.
3 times a week? Holy.
Sometimes you
How many gallons of milk do you go through in a week?
7.
7.
we go through a gallon of milk a day easy. If it's not just from cereal, you know, it takes 5 boxes of macaroni and cheese just to make a side dish. You gotta have, you know, almost a quarter gallon of milk in order to make that creamy.
Yep. Well, that's amazing. Okay. All right. Well, so we're right on our time. So Jessica, do we have any questions that popped up in the live chat?
We actually don't have any questions. And what I was going to jump in and say is if you guys want to send some questions for the Hardaways, whether it is foster related or just COVID related or just, hey, you're doing a great job. Because that's pretty much what's come in is just what an amazing Citrus County family you guys are and how inspiring your story is. And Scott said our wives do everything. So I think he's agreeing that the shoe got put on the other foot and maybe we know a little bit more now. But yeah, just a lot of just love and appreciation for what you guys are doing is coming through. But we've got a lot of heart. So a lot of our families are on the live right now, but we've also got a lot of likes. So I just want to ask you guys, what would you say to a family that might be wanting to foster a teen or, come into fostering about sibling groups? Like, what's your best advice for a new foster family?
Do it. Set your
Yes.
set your standards and stay by your standards. If you if you only want, let's say you want to take 2 kids, take a boy and a girl sibling. Keep them together. You can't imagine what the children are going through, and then to be separated from the only person that you have.
Absolutely.
We have a question coming in. Did anything prior to prepare you for what you went through with COVID-19, the flu or anything like that? Was it just kind of like an onslaught?
It was an onslaught. Nothing prepared us.
Well, we're glad you guys made it through safely and are here to talk about it and share what a harrowing evening that was at 100. I can't even imagine 106 degrees. Wow, what a fever. Gracious.
Yes.
And we're glad that you are here, and you said that you were still trying to get all that breath back. So we hope that that goes really quickly for you and you get back to 100% really soon. But I mean, even at 50%, you're a pretty amazing mom. So
Thank you.
I can't imagine at 100%. What are you looking forward to this summer? I mean, I know that's kind of the hard question at this point, but hopefully Florida will be open. We have a lot of great things in Citrus County and surrounding areas. So what are you guys planning for the summer if we're allowed to?
We've already taken our kids to Daytona. When we all tested negative, my husband said it's time to get out of the house. So for Mother's Day weekend, we have to rent 2 rooms. So he got 2 rooms and kind of made it a surprise. And we got up early and took all the kids to Daytona.
Nice.
Just to let them spend time at the beach. But I'm also on the board of the Citrus County Foster Parent Association, and we had an event scheduled for towards the end of June. Well, even though Disney is not open, we decided that we're going to use it as a getaway and still, utilize the hotel and the hotel pool and just, spend some quality fun time with the family.
That sounds awesome. Sounds like a great summer plan. I have another question, and this one probably is open to everybody. We have somebody asking about being a single foster parent and maybe the myths around that we can touch on. We get that a lot. But just maybe expand upon becoming a single foster parent. I'll let Sharon touch on that, and then Shalonda too. And I mean, as a single foster parent for a little bit, maybe Mr. Hardaway can give some insight.
Yes.
I'm used to it. I'm used to routine. So it's not that hard. It's fine. I promise you won't go crazy. It's just a routine that you got to set yourself to and just do it. It's very easy. As long as you have a routine down.
And the kids, to them, there wasn't anything different. I mean, he's always been an involved dad, so it wasn't, really anything different for them. So they maintained, not being scared. And, and when you have siblings, the siblings look out for one another. So if you have one sibling that, maybe, having a little bit of anxiety or something because, mom's not there, they will step up, and be like, it's okay. She'll be coming home soon. So it really does help.
But being a single foster parent, don't steer away from it. We know a lot of single foster parents.
Mm-hmm. And they do great.
Yeah.
They win awards at Halo. They do amazing. They really are. I mean, hats off to them because, it's, they do an outstanding job.
I would definitely like to add that it's a myth that you can't foster being single. As Mr. and Mrs. Hardaway stated, that there are several single foster parents that do an outstanding job. I think it's no different than being a married couple, just knowing your limits and not taking on more than you can chew, and selecting whether or not it's going to be males or females or both, and definitely considering sibling groups. But we definitely would encourage anyone that is interested in fostering to contact Kids Central, and you do not have to be married. That is not a requirement.
Yeah, I would have to add the only requirement is love, and that is unconditional love. That's what they all need.
Yes.
Yep. And do you guys know an Eli?
Yes, I have Eli.
Okay, so he says, "Hi, we love you" from the backyard. So I figured you had to have known him.
It's Eli's birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Eli.
birthday, Eli.
Happy birthday!
just a lot of love and appreciation coming in. We also have a Haley. Do we know a Haley?
Haley is our she was our nanny that, decided to leave. She's our daughter.
So
Yes.
she's saying hi to you guys too from the chat. So we love that.
Love you, Mija.
You guys just have a lot of love pouring out for you guys, and we appreciate everything that you've gone through, especially recently, but more than that, we appreciate everything you've done for the kids that we care for and taking them and loving them. Like Shalonda said, we can't all foster, but we can all do something. So it's really important. And, if you can foster, we want you to, and we have ways for you to reach out. I'm gonna let Caleb touch on that, but we really appreciate everything you guys have done, especially recently. I mean, I'm a mom of 2 and I can't even imagine what you do every day. I mean, just being home and doing school has been enough for me. So from the bottom of our hearts, like, what an amazing family you guys are. So I'm gonna let Caleb take over again. And if we get any more questions, I'll jump in.
Caleb, I just want to jump in real quick. You don't just foster for a little while. We have children that, are no longer in our home, and we have been invited to high school graduations. We helped one of our previous children buy her first car. They still call us mom and dad. So they are with you for, Eli is one of them, but they are with you forever. They really are. I mean, if they're your children and you claim them, they will be yours forever.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I do want to highlight really quick, and you guys know this, the intense need we have for Citrus County foster parents. When we move kids out of their little county, where sometimes that's the only thing they've ever known and seen, sometimes they think they've gone to another state, another place. It's further trauma for them. So we really try, especially at Kids Central, to keep kids in the county and even close by where they're from, so that they can stay in the school, same school maybe, so that they have their friends nearby. So visits are easier, all those things. So if you're in Citrus County and you feel called to do this and take part in some way, foster, adopt, support, whatever it is, we really, really would appreciate if you reach out to us. We want to make that happen. So last question I have, and I hope we can maybe kind of wrap up with this one, is for you, Michael. You mentioned, and your wife mentioned, I got to say, when I called her and started talking to her about this, she was singing your praises the whole time. But I do think that's a really great point, is that I think a lot of times when it comes to fostering, we have the mom who steps up and says, we need to do this. And the dad's just kind of like, okay, she told me to. And I'm not saying that. I think that sometimes there's like a defense that comes up with being the dad, where this is your household and you have to protect it. But you've opened your household, you've taken it on, you've embraced this calling. What kind of advice would you give to dads out there that are kind of like on the edge, or maybe not embracing what their wives, or maybe that calling they may feel to do this?
It's scary at first, you
Yeah.
know. But other than that, once you get into it, it's no different than having your own children at home. It's no different. Just jump in it with your spouse and give 100%, because you'll reap the rewards. I promise you. Not only, by the love from the kids, from the success that they have, the kids have, just seeing a change in them is 100% rewarding.
That's amazing.
Dads don't have to be just the breadwinners. They can truly have a role, and where the kids, some of the kids will actually go to him first, if they have, questions, especially, some of our boys, will actually go to him first, and they feel comfortable doing that.
That's
and he steps up and, will answer. And as long as you're honest with your kids, that's what they need. They're tired of being lied to. They're tired of being, everything. They just want to know that they can love you and that they can trust you.
Gotcha. So when you say, one more question. When you say they're tired of being lied to, maybe go into that with us, because for most of our viewers, they're like, why are these kids being lied to?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. The homes that they're coming from. Okay. Sometimes, unfortunately, the parents disappear for a little while, or they're doing things that they do not need to be doing, and the kids see this and they see the change, and if they say something, they're being lied to, unfortunately, sometimes during visits, they're being lied to, and they can see it. I tell our kids all the time, you may not like what I have to say, but I'm not going to lie to you. So they know they can trust us, and they will come to us with some of their deepest, darkest, feelings that they have, because they feel safe in order to do that.
That's incredible. Okay. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up, right, Miss Jessica? If you are watching, if you are interested in becoming a foster adoptive parent, a resource parent, and Heart, if you already are one, we appreciate all that you guys do. And thank you guys so much for joining us once again.
We do have another quarantine conversations coming
Yes.
next Tuesday. So this is going to be our new thing. We like to get together and talk. I mean, who doesn't? But we really wanted to bring stories and just the genuine love that our foster families have for our kids to our viewers. And the best way to do that is, Zoom's amazing. So we get all of us together. We're still 6 feet apart, and we get to have these conversations and get to know you guys on a much broader level. And people may have questions, and you guys answer those just in the sharing that we're doing right now. So we really appreciate you guys coming out and being our guinea pigs for this one. We weren't sure if we were going to hit live, if everything was going to flow, and it was perfection. And, I'll let Shalonda close it out too. And then I will, and Sharon, and then we'll close it out. So Shalonda, do you have any final words?
Shalonda's on mute.
Yeah, I think you and Caleb said it all, but we, love our foster parents, our adopted parents, and I'm just happy to be a part of this family to make sure we take care of these kids the right way. So,
well, if anybody has any other questions, they can also go to the Citrus County Foster Parent Association, and they can actually speak to other foster parents, and we will answer any of their questions.
That was one of the things that Brandy Buckner just said, is that if you have an interest in fostering, besides Kid Central, the foster parent associations are a great place to meet other foster parents and get, acclimated with what they're doing and be able to ask those questions. We were hosting open houses prior to our quarantine conversations where we were hoping to kind of foster that a little bit more. But, right now, reach out to our foster parent associations. They will definitely introduce you to some people you need to know, and reach out to Kid Central. Sharon, Shalonda, and Caleb can all make sure that you get all the information that you need.
I just wanted to say, closing out, that I commend Jessica for even coming up with this concept. And when we talked about the idea, it was a no-brainer for us, Mr. and Mrs. Hardaway. We definitely have always appreciated your willingness to take teens, to take the large sibling groups. So, and to know that you've actually been exposed to COVID and was able to maintain those kids. I definitely thought it would be good to share your story. And we appreciate you all so much. And we just want you to know that, it's definitely not unnoticed. And I know, Mr. Hardaway, you made it look very easy. And like I said, you kept a very cool head throughout this whole thing. So anybody else, I don't know if they would have been able to do that. It was a lot for 9 days, I know. So we're glad, Mrs. Hardaway, that you're getting better and you're on the road to complete recovery. And if there's anything you need from us, please let us know.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And I have to take a step back because this was a collaboration between Caleb and I. So Caleb kind of pulled as much together as he could while we were trying to deal with communication and COVID at Kid Central. So he's done an amazing job, and he's really a great advocate for Kid Central and for our foster parents and adoptive parents. So Caleb, thank you so much for hosting this with me. I couldn't have done it without you. Obviously, the Hardaways, we couldn't have done it without you. And we really hope that we'll have, we reached about 40 people tonight. So 40 people were watching us at one point. So hi to everybody out there. Crystal, I did see your comment, and I'm going to have Sharon and Shalonda get with you on your questions. I'll reach out to you for an email, just so we can make sure we're answering the question the right way that for what you're asking. But we really appreciate everyone joining us, and we hope you'll join us next week when we host our next Family for Quarantine Conversations. If you are one of our foster or adoptive parents watching and you would like to come on Quarantine Conversations with us, we promise it's super easy, and they can attest to it. So it won't be hard. It's just a conversation with your best friends. Brandy Buckner, I see you. But we really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. So for this edition of Quarantine Conversations, we are saying sayonara for tonight, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.